the end of a long and arduous campaign, and the ballots have been cast, and the votes have been counted, and the results are in, Ethan. With an overwhelming mandate, the people have declared that they want 4 more years of the Grunge Bible podcast.
Woo! Yeah!
4 more years, baby!
4 more years! 4 more years!
4 more years!
Thank you. We just want to take this time to say thank you to everybody. The first 4 years were difficult. A lot of, tough arbitration and tough decisions, but the people need us right now. And so what are we going to do? Walk away in the time of need? Not going to happen.
When your country calls, you must answer. And amidst the tumultuous times over the last 4 years, our winning campaign, we've won another 4 years in office, and it is proof that the people still have power, the people have a voice, and we as a community have the ability to unite behind one single ticket to go back into office and get stuff done. And as a great man once said, ask not what your podcast can do for you, ask what you can do for your podcast. And with that, we welcome you into episode number 208 of the Grunge Bible podcast. 4 years of the GB Potter in the rear view. And as we said, we're back in office for another 4 years. Remains to be seen if we're term limited for 2 terms of 4 years. Right. I don't know if there'll be a third term after this, but it's great to be here, Ethan. 208 weeks in a row, 4 years in a row, no misses. How are you today? How are we feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good after that intro. I talked to my older brother right before we got on here, and I said, yep, I got to record the podcast, our 4-year anniversary. And he's like, do you do that every week, just making sure? And I was like, man, we've done it every Monday
week
for the last 4 years. We haven't missed one. So I just want everybody to think about that. We have not missed a podcast in 4 years. I know it comes up a lot, but now it's longer. When we said 100 in a row, whatever. But this is 4 years straight. How many things are you that consistent with, Chris?
Well, that's the thing. And this episode is kind of going to veer into that a little bit because, well, I imagine every single week we say stuff to make ourselves feel good about ourselves, but we're going to have to do it with this.
We're like speaking in a mirror. We're getting ourselves hyped up as your wife practices the Borat voice.
Yeah, man.
It's like
yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's like think of everything that you do in your day-to-day life and all the streaks that you have, even like the days like you forget to brush your teeth or something, or like you wanted to go on that run but you didn't. We've been faced with that challenge every week for the last 4 years, the last 208 weeks, and we've answered the bell every single time, and that feels pretty good in reflection.
People say to do hard things and to work out the brain muscle that, it's what's the word? What's the word? It's, where you bring on hard things on purpose. It's something adversity. I can't remember.
It's got to be some sort of word there.
Yeah. Anyway,
whatever that is.
We do this to ourselves, basically. You do it intentionally, and we made sure that we wouldn't miss. And I'm very proud of us, Chris, because there's a lot of times where we could have. We've done some random things to
our backs have been up against it more than a few times,
more than I'd like to admit.
Yeah, to get the episode done, to put something together, and we've been able to do it, and most importantly, somehow by some act of God, there have been people waiting for that episode to drop every single week for the last 4 years, which is unbelievably impressive. And if that element didn't exist, obviously, as we said, we're a ticket for the people, and without the support of the people and without the interest of the people, we certainly wouldn't be driven to have run for office once again, and our campaign would not have been as successful had we not had that grassroots support.
That's right. So for today's episode, we are going to kind of talk about what was going on in 2021 when we decided to start this podcast, some of the hits, some of the Billboard hits, some of the albums that came out, some of our favorite albums that were 4 years ago, just our time of life. Then we'll talk about a little bit about, we got This Day in Music, and then we got the greatest 4-year runs of random assortments of entertainment that probably consumed. Not just us in our college days, the 4-year run that we had.
Certainly not.
A little bit more than that.
Yeah, I think this will be a fun episode. I think for the people that tune in for like music plus, like us. I think this is tailor made for those people. Which honestly, I mean, at this point in the podcast,
who else is tuning in, right?
That's who we make the episode for. You know, I think as time has gone on, it's become less and less about 4 bands from the Pacific Northwest and more about music, life, us, everything in general, and just kind of the trials and tribulations of making it in the world today. So, how are you today, Ethan? How's it hanging?
That's right. If you're new here, we start off every episode with a mental health check-in, a little how are you? And Chris, I'm doing well. This has been a good week. You know, I'm finally getting my footing. Like I said, I dropped off my key to the old apartment on Monday.
Yeah, another passage.
Yep, another passage of time. A lot of good roots and good memories in that house, but it feels good to move and be in a new space. This is second episode. My room is a mess, but I was able to put away the kitchen yesterday, so now I was able to buy a bunch of groceries and have my kitchen kind of set up, so the downstairs is set.
Nice.
I need to declutter this room for sure. It's, different. I don't have a dresser, like everything goes in the closet, or the shirts are, just stacked up.
Sure.
And right now they're outside of the closet because it's a smaller one. I'm a little tall for it.
I can't wait to come visit, see the new spot, man.
Yeah. Oh, you're always welcome. That's why I don't sleep in the front seat, because I'm too tall.
You got so stoned.
I got so stoned. So yeah, it's been good. Like I've been just kind of grinding. I'm just focusing day to day. Like I'm just trying to just kind of stack up the good days and not look. There's a lot of stuff going to happen this summer and this spring even, but all I can do is worry about January, then February, then March, and we're doing good. So yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Right.
I'm happy to hear that. It's always tough moving to a new place, and I feel like the two things you got to get set straight away. Obviously, you got to get the bed set up, and then you got to get the kitchen set up. It's like everything else falls into place afterwards, but if you've got a place to nourish and a place to rest, I mean, what else does one really need in this world?
Roof over my head, yeah.
And also goes without saying, the third piece of that trio would be you need a place to pod, and you've got one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely brought the desk up last week, this raggedy old desk.
Yeah, man.
But hey, it holds my laptop, so I guess it's enough. Chris,
Sweet.
How are you doing today?
Dude, I'm fantastic. My spirits are really high. I feel like the last week or 2 weeks or so, I'm starting to hit a really good stride here, just with a lot of things in my life. And I'll tell you, it sounds really silly because everybody talks about it this time of year, and we talk about it a lot. And we certainly have this time of year the last 4 years, but when those clocks change and that sun's up in the sky a little bit it's starting to warm up, you start getting those 50, 60 degree days. Like my mood has gone through the roof. Like I think it's time to declare victory over another winter. I'm sitting here at 6:30 and the sun is still kind of in my eyes. It's reflecting off of this album that I have on the wall behind me. It just feels good, Captain. Man. Yeah, and the captain is right in the sunshine here.
He's got the golden hour going.
He's right on the bridge of the ship guiding us home. I feel good. Training for weightlifting's been going really good. I've dialed the diet back in this week in the nutrition. I'm back on the creatine. I'm feeling strong, feeling good, getting sleep. Having fun, seeing my friends, all those things, and I'm primed for what I think is going to be a really good spring, summer, and fall here. I kind of take the winter to hibernate and kind of get to basics a little bit, but now we're ready to fire up the old system again and see where it can take us.
Amen. I mean, that is what winter is for. I remember talking to Andy, winter, things die, but really during the winter, things die in the fall. In the winter, everything is budding and growing.
You
and
just
now
can't
we're sprouting.
See it yet. Exactly.
The fresh tendrils. They're coming out to play. So we have a lot of fresh tendrils for this spring. We haven't really decided yet what we're gonna coin this summer. I don't think we have a summer. I don't know if we have a phrase yet. We had a canned heat summer one year. I'm not sure what this one's going to be, but I'm excited for it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's an empty canvas in front of us, and I feel really really optimistic about the good experiences that hopefully we're all going to have this year. I think they're well earned after a winter of work, and now it's time to be getting to enjoy some stuff, and we'll be podding every week of the way. Everybody knows that.
That's right. We'll keep it to a vocal diary. So hopefully it grows. People keep joining in. It's fun.
That's the thing. Yeah, we've got a really, really solid base. And obviously, we could take the entirety of this episode to thank people and name names and everything. But it goes without saying that, the last 4 years, every single week we've had, as I said earlier, a group of people that have been anticipating and enjoying this project that we've been doing. And that remains true to this day. A lot of these people, and I'll read the Patreon list here in a bit, they've been here with us for most of these 4 years, which is just as big of an accomplishment for them as it is for us, I think, with all of the ups and downs of 1 year, let alone 4, the fact that people are, continuing to make the commitment to, 1, spend time with us, but 2, spend their money to support us. That means a lot. We are a ticket of the people, and this was a people's campaign. And, we don't take any money from the big super PACs out there, any of the special interest groups, the lobbyists. We're people funded, and we've remained that way at the start of our second term here in office. And anybody along the way, the people that popped in and listened for a little bit, bought some merch, been on the Patreon for a week or 4 years, any step of the way, it means a lot. And we're able to be in this position because of that. So, if you want to kickstart the campaign and kickstart the second term in office here a little bit with a little financial windfall to us, we do have a Patreon. We can govern with a mandate this year because because our first term went so well. I think we're to be able to do a lot of cool stuff with the next 4 years. So you can throw your weight around a little bit too and join the Patreon. We have a $2, $5, and $10 level. All those 3 tiers. If you join at any tier, you can support us. And especially if you join at the top tier, that is, the peak of our undying gratitude for you. I will say your name every week. And also, if you join the Patreon, we'll do an episode about a topic that you would like. But now I'm going to read the name of everybody who supports us at the top tier. And as it stands right now, at the beginning of our second term in office, we can thank A Bit Dusty, Black Hole Sean, Doug Endy, D-Boat, Eddie Vedder Got Me Through My Second Divorce, Goju John, Epona, Jamie Lynn, Jade Mercado, Carlene Salona, King Buzzo Stole My Hair, The Michael Dooley Project, Millie, Nikki Six, Russell, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Sherry Matthews, Sunshine Slackers, Abraham is the cutest basset hound ever, and What the Fuck is Up, Denny's.
Amen. All I have to say to that is the cowards never started. The weak died along the way. Only the strong survived.
And that leaves us.
I'm talking about, podcasting, not the Patreon people that we lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. They've got their own stuff going on. They're fighting their own battles.
Yeah, the people that left it, they're not weak. But if you haven't joined, I may call you, I may call you a coward. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about it, you gotta, more harm has been caused by indecision than by wrong decision. So go ahead, pull that trigger. Chris,
what's the best insult that is not like a normal insult, right? Like calling, like when you watch a movie and someone is like, in the battlefield and they get called a coward, like that really cuts hard and there's no profanity involved. It's just when you call someone a coward in a very serious situation, like it's, it cuts deep.
Yeah, I think the biggest insult to somebody's character would be, if you just kind of say to them like, hey, like what are you passionate about? What do you stand for? If you've got nothing going in that direction. I think even on a very simple level, I think perhaps in the male world, one of the biggest, some of the biggest insults that you can levy towards somebody else is when you start calling somebody buddy or pal or bud. Like, those are always fighting words.
Yeah, no, they are. I saw an English man on. It was an Instagram reel, or he called someone a crumb, and he was very passionate about calling him just a crumb. I think a clown, if used properly, is it cuts deep. Yeah,
it does. There's a lot. There's a lot out there that can cut deep. In the spirit of kind of thanking people and just kind of giving a report from the field, I do have a message from the road that we got over on YouTube, actually. There are 2 of them. So I'm going to read the bad one first, and then I'm going to read the good one second. So the bad one was, I just have to pull it up here. Where the hell?
Some hate mail. We don't get to read hate mail that much because
we got an interesting message.
They're out there.
They're always out there, but hey, that's part of it here. If here we go. I got to pull up the story archive. So this was on this. We got this message this week on It was 2021, and you were competing at nationals at the Olympic trials. So you were out west, and I did a couple of solo episodes. And I did an episode on like the top 10 or top 15 grunge driving songs. And this was almost 4 years ago that I did this episode. But this week, I got there was a message, and I posted on the Grunge Bible story, and a lot of people had some pretty funny responses to it. And it got like 100,000 views, which is very rare for a story. But somebody said, "Were you even alive in the 90s, dude? Born in 72, and I've seen many of these bands live. You're literally trying to sound like you grew up with these bands in real time. You're probably born in the late 90s after all the good music died. Yes, there's the odd banger since then, but it's been mostly downhill since. Why does every millennial/Zoomer generation want everything that Gen X grew up with? Our music, fashion, movies, etc. Literally claiming it like it was your own, shaking my head. You never lived it, dude. It wasn't your time nor your era. It's cool that you dig the tunes, but it's comical to make it sound like you experienced it all." And like, I don't think we ever proclaimed that, you know, especially now in the era of not lying in 2025. I don't think we ever proclaimed any of that to be true. I think we just caught somebody on a bad day. But hey, they engaged
he's not
with
wrong.
us.
We didn't live it.
We didn't live it. Yeah, exactly.
It's
our
not
fault.
wrong. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it, and that's where, you know, if people want to get mad that we enjoy it and like to talk about it, then there's nothing we can say. I mean,
there's nothing we can do for them either.
No, but you know, he did write a paragraph about it.
Well, that's the thing. He took time, and in a way, that supports us. That helped our engagement. It got another view on the video. Comments always help the engagement too. So in a way, he was supporting the ticket here, whether he knew it or not. That's like when you sign it. You sign a petition that you don't really know what it's about, and you find out it's about something you don't necessarily support. But hey, for all time, we've got that individual's support through his actions. So
do petitions still work like that?
I don't
still work.
I don't know, man. It's hard to say. So that was the bad, and then we got a good message on one of the podcast episodes that we uploaded on YouTube recently, and this is what it's all about. Somebody commented and said, "Hey fellas, I'm a month late, but only just listened. Wonder Years are about to tour Australia, and I bought a ticket purely on how often you guys have discussed them. They better not disappoint. Cheers for the great content." I love sight unseen to a band buying a ticket.
We've had a few of those over the years, which is like pretty much exactly what we want out of this, right?
Because it happens all the time that people will comment or shoot us a message to be like, "Hey man, like I never heard of this band that you posted or talked about. Like, thank you. I'm a big fan of theirs." But it's the rare instance that someone's like, "I hear you talking about them, so I'm going to buy a ticket and go." That's
a man of action.
That's a man of action, and that's excellent. And I told that person to hit us back up after the show and let us know what they thought. I hope it's a good one.
Oh, we know it's going to be a good one, right? That's just.
Oh yeah. Goes without
you've
saying.
seen Wonder Years more than
many.
I was just saying more than anybody I know, but I think Cullen, does he have more than you?
Cullen's got more than me. Yeah, for sure. I think Sam Culp might have as many or more than me, just by virtue. He's been at the party for longer than I, and he also lives in the Philly area, so he's got easy access. So
yep. Oh yeah,
it's exciting stuff. They're really happy about that. So that's the thanks and the gratitude portion. And all of our goodwill going back out into the world. So also goes without saying, today the episode's coming out on the 17th of March, which is St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. It's a great holiday, great opportunity to drink all day and do all those things. So pretty jacked up about that as well.
Go catch a leprechaun if you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day. Awesome. Yeah, so I guess we'll talk about is St. Patrick's Day the same day every year?
It's always the 17th, yeah.
So we can talk about St. Patrick's Day over the years in this day in music, which is pretty great. So this is other stuff that happened on St. Patrick's Day throughout the years. So we're going to go way back to 1919 when Nat King Cole is born.
And this one's great. If you don't know the name, obviously you know the Christmas song "Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire." Like the classic version was Nat King Cole's. I'm sure I've shared this on the podcast before, but he died because of lung cancer, I think in his 40s or 50s. And all throughout his recording career, he got it into his head that the reason his voice sounded the way it did was because he would chain smoke menthol cigarettes while he was recording and performing, which he did all the time. So he developed, obviously, a nasty menthol cigarette habit that ended up claiming his life. So unfortunate. Stay away from those cigarettes, kids.
Yeah. Just drink whiskey like Mark Lanigan was advised
Exactly.
to.
Yeah. It's that
It's a much
simple.
better vice.
Yeah, man. It's nice and easy that way. Let's move forward to 1958. And this one, when I was making the list, this was divine intervention. This is the perfect This Day in Music entry for some of the stuff we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. On this day in 1958, the first ever Greatest Hits compilation album was released, and it was released by Johnny Mathis, who is a hitmaker of the era. I looked him up. He's still living, so really, really great out there. And this Greatest Hits album obviously was a huge hit and paved the way. It caught on quickly, and pretty soon everybody and their brother was putting out Greatest Hits albums. And that Johnny Mathis Greatest Hits album stayed in the Billboard 200 album chart for over 9 years. And that was the record until Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon surpassed it, staying in the 200 Billboard top album chart for over 9 years. That is an unbelievable amount of time. And the great Johnny Mathis paved the way.
Talk about a run right there.
Yeah.
2 terms plus.
Yeah.
And he coined, I'm assuming, so he coined Greatest Hits, right?
Yeah, one of the label men coined it.
It's like, you know what? Let's just do all, I mean, what a great idea. Let's just put all of our best stuff in one spot.
You don't have to do anything. You just put them together. You don't have to sing anything else, record anything else. You just put it out there.
Oh, it's so good.
That's pretty great.
Moving ahead to 1968 on St. Patrick's Day, Mick Jagger joins a demonstration at Grosvenor Square in London to protest the Vietnam War. When the group, estimated at 25,000, marches to the American embassy, they are met with police resistance and rioting ensues. Jagger uses the events as inspiration for the Rolling Stones song Street Fighting Man.
That's great. That's a good intersection. I always love it when you can point to a specific moment that inspired somebody to write a song.
Right.
And that obviously was a very tumultuous time. Just by happenstance, I've been reading a book that details heavily that time in the Vietnam War. And it's interesting kind of hearing that tidbit and what was going on there versus what was going on like in the Pentagon at the time and obviously in Vietnam itself. And we have Street Fighting Man as a result, which is a fantastic song. The Stones, man, they hit such a great stride in the late 60s, early 70s. One of the better 4-year runs of music when I think of Exile on Main Street, Sticky Fingers, and Let It Bleed, all coming out, I think, within 4 years of one another. So really, really solid there.
I wouldn't know because I wasn't alive during it.
Exactly. That's true. Yeah,
word.
I can't comment on that.
How do you know, Chris?
I can't even listen to that stuff, you know. And Ethan, we really shouldn't even be talking about these events in history.
Our podcast is empty.
Yeah, we got nothing to talk about. Oh, man. And here's another thing that we shouldn't be talking about on this day in 1978. Jimmy Buffett releases his 8th studio album, Son of a Sailor, which features the smash hit song that remains a smash hit to this day, Cheeseburger in Paradise.
You can't beat it, dude.
Absolutely unbelievable.
If you pull up to a cookout and you start playing a Cheeseburger in Paradise, I mean, it's an all-timer. It really is an all-time summer song. Just really gets the people going. Rest in peace, Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, that's the thing. He may be gone, but the parrot heads are still out there, and they'll live forever.
Yeah, the parrot heads, man, they might be better than the deadheads, you know?
Absolutely, they're definitely up there.
All right, moving to 1990. Now, I wasn't there, so I don't know if this is exactly
That's true. And,
but apparently
once again,
Hozier was born.
That's great.
I wasn't there to see it happen, so I have no idea.
I cannot confirm these events.
It's just all allegations, all speculation that is. So apparently Hozier was born in 1990.
Yeah, I mean, I've got like a 6-year blind spot, you know, so I only tapped in, you know, once Hozier was turning 6. I mean, luckily for you, you kind of hopped in when he was about 4. So, you know, maybe if we talk to somebody who's a bit older than us, we can get some confirmation on this. But I really don't think we should be discussing that.
Say it's just like, you know, it's just what they tell us. It's like we only can believe what they tell us, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And
luckily we get to move into something we could speak on.
Yeah, thankfully I was 5 with this one, so I can contend it to be true. On this day in 2001, 7 Pearl Jam live bootleg albums from their North American tour all debut at the same time in the Billboard 200 album chart, and that broke the record for the most appearances on the chart by an artist in a given week. And it broke the record previously set also by Pearl Jam from the previous year, where they had 5 of those live albums debut in the Billboard 200 chart. So they had 7 at one time in the top 200 albums, which is really great. I think we've talked about this before, but any band out there that releases all of their shows live for people to purchase and have is really, really great. And it's just a cool way to continue to endear yourself to the fans. I've purchased the bootleg of every Pearl Jam show that I've gone to, and I will do that if I'm able to go to more.
Yeah, great way to. I mean, that's something that down the line you'll be happy to have, and you can go back and.
Oh yeah.
I think naturally you get older and time passes between when you see a concert, it gets more sentimental to be able to see and hear and try to, recollect those feelings.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Moving forward, 2018. This actually has a St. Patty's Day theme to it.
This is a good one.
So in 2018 in Brussels, concert in Brussels, the Script, everyone loves the Script, bought everyone in the audience of 8,000 people a Guinness. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was Guinness, the drink, but they just bought him a drink, setting a Guinness World Record for world's biggest round. It would have been cool if it was all Guinness.
Yeah, that would have been great.
And they broke a Guinness World Record, but I can't confirm that. I wasn't there. But that's a legendary. I mean, I just wonder, they would have to have stopped the show. We've talked about something like this
I wonder
before.
what the logistics of that, like, I wonder if they just like gave everybody a coupon and like a drink ticket, and they're like, hey, just so we can say. One other event that's very similar to this, in 2012, Fenway Park, home of the Red Sox, turned 100. And on opening day for the Sox in 2012, they had like so many alumni from, as far back as the guys that were living. They had them back to Fenway Park to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the park. And they did a stadium-wide toast of champagne to Fenway Park. But apparently, and who's to say, if this source was the end all be all, but I don't know if that was ratified by the fine folks at Guinness World Records. I don't know, the numbers, but I mean, Fenway Park holds like 37,000. So perhaps, there's some competition there, but this one on St. Patty's Day, that's obviously a worthy entry into the record books.
If you think about it, if it's $5 a drink, which is pretty standard, even in only 28, that's $40,000.
Write it off, Ethan.
And if you want to be official, like you said, you have to buy it. So the Script spent $40,000 on the fans. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I just looked up the Script real quick, and they have over 22 million monthly listeners on Spotify.
Are you serious?
Right now.
They're the band who did Break Even, right? Yeah.
That's almost 23 million monthly listeners. I'm pretty surprised.
I would love to have a conversation with the average individual of those 22 million and the fact that they're intentionally choosing to listen. Do you listen to the Script?
No, we don't listen to the Script, but like I just recently, like a day ago, like yesterday, was thinking about, I think it was a 90s page I follow, and they were showing videos from like the Script, Goo Goo Dolls, the type of sob rock, I guess, that the bands like Fuel, or some of the bands that were like early 2000s, like I don't know when the Script probably was that time, right? 2008.
Yeah, it's got to be around then.
Yeah, the rock bands of those times. I just kind of wish I kind of miss those bands. I don't know why. There's not much of like, unless you have the legacy of being from around then. Like, people aren't making music like that anymore.
It's a different sound. I even think of like
they were big.
OAR, for example. They were huge.
Oh yeah, they would have been a little bit. They
started in the 90s. Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I just remember like middle school that their song "Shattered" was huge, so I kind of associate it with like a later period of the timeline.
I liked OAR, but all the jam bands, obviously, they dismiss them. They do not. They're wannabe. Yeah, they're not a real jam band. But
right.
That's a different conversation. Anyway, I like those bands. For some reason, they got a soft spot in the Script, and what was the one? How to Save the Fray.
The Fray.
The Fray.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they had a stranglehold on music for a little bit.
They did, man. It was funny.
I'm happy for it too.
I was thinking, I was in the car or the other morning listening to 92.3, which is a top 40 station here in southern New England. And that's the station that was always on in the car when I was a kid. And like, I remember like, that's all the stuff that I was listening to, like the Fray, Train was always on there, like bands like that.
Yeah.
And that was,
exactly.
That was top 40 back then. And certainly, you know, we can't talk about it because we weren't alive, but like, think of what top 40 used to mean in the early 90s and the late 90s. And now it's, you know, it's pop music still, but you know, the iteration of it is quite different. And it's funny kind of looking back through these charts and through the levels of popularity to see, you know, what the general public was listening to. Because I would say overwhelmingly most people kind of fall into that, you know, whatever's top 40, whatever's like the best pop, you know, most popular.
They're listening to the radio. People don't listen to the radio as much, so it's harder. I feel like it's harder. I mean, it's not harder to influence, obviously, because there's plenty of other ways to influence. But
now more than ever, it's up to the individual to choose what they want to listen to. And we've obviously talked about that so much over the last few years, but still an interesting, fascinating phenomenon still.
Curate your own stuff. Yeah. I was going to bring it up either, you know, here or just talking to you, how it's so random how your music taste goes in waves. And this is probably how, you know, things are popular for 4 years at a time, and then they kind of move on, and then you have your peaks of stuff, and you don't even know it's kind of happening, like this peak in music that we're talking about. But just recently, like, I haven't listened to Goose. Like, I was on a huge Goose kick for 8 months, and since the new year, like, I really have not listened to much jam music, and I don't know why. I think it's because of the weather. It has to be like something to do with the weather and where I'm at. But like, my music taste, like, just without notice, just changed, and I just moved into different things. I'm not even sure what I'm listening to right now. Like,
I'm in the same boat right now.
I can't even tell you like what my most listened to stuff is right now. It's just it's so random, but like. It's just weird how you kind of go. Maybe some older stuff, like older rap, like I don't know, Kid Cudi I've been listening to. But
it's funny how that it's funny when it happens, but it's even stranger when you're aware of it when it's happening. Because I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I mean, standard bearers for what I listen to musically, like last year and a half, 2 years, like it's been pop punk all the time, and like I haven't listened to any of that stuff with a level of intent in a while. And
all of
honestly,
a sudden, 3 months go by.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and like I'd say the last like month or so. Thinking about it now, and obviously there's always a level of recency bias, but like this is the least amount of music that I've listened to over like a month, 2-3 month stretch currently, that, you know, as opposed to anything I can remember. Like, I just haven't been listening to much music. I've been hammering a bunch of pods and different things like that, but you know, it comes in waves.
Yeah, that's exactly the same thing. I mean, I listen to a lot of pods, and I like that. I mean, there's times when I can't listen to pods and I got to go to music, and then I kind of, you know, bounce around. But it's just funny how it just happens so fast. All of a sudden you go like 3 months and you're just like, wow, I haven't listened to like PD or Modest Mouse, like my favorite artists. Like, I feel like I haven't listened to them in a while, and I don't really know why.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for the script, for giving us that little side stories. That
was huge. We needed that one. We've got one more entry on This Day in Music, and this comes very recently in 2023. And on this day in that year, Taylor Swift's Eras Tour began with a gig in Glendale, Arizona, presumably at the Arizona Cardinals Stadium, that's hosted all kinds of concerts and Super Bowls and NCAA, you know, bowl games and the like. So that just wrapped up to the Eras Tour. Like, I think it just ended like a year, or like not a year, like a couple months ago or something, like November, December or something. So
it's pretty wild.
Long run, a lot of money. Obviously, the money train was rolling for 2.5 years there.
Why stop it?
Yeah, exactly.
Why stop your residency at MSG when you're making money?
Yeah, man, absolutely. And while not occurring on that day, on March 17th, but on Friday, March 19th, 2021, episode number 1 of the Grunge Bubble podcast was released. And that was back in the day when we used to release on Fridays. We did that, I think, for the first year, and then we switched to Mondays. And Mondays just feels right. The Friday releases were always tough with the recording and producing and editing schedule.
Why did we do that, Chris?
I don't know why we did that. Like, it's really strange.
It is so funny that, like, we did that for so long.
You remember that though? Because like we'd record on like Tuesday or Wednesday, or sometimes even Thursday, and like Drew Quick, like on like a work night, would have to edit it and turn it back around to us. The gift of the Monday,
the weekend.
Yeah, the
we
Monday
just
is great.
we would burn the weekend all the time because we'd have it done and out, and then the next 2 days you're not going to do anything, and those were Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the spirit of it being 4 years since we released the first episode, Ethan, as you mentioned at the top of the episode, we're going to kind of take a look back into what the world was like that day, the first day of the Grunge Bubble podcast, when episode 1 came out, which was called In the Beginning, and it was a brief background into Grunge Bible and us and why we started the podcast and what the podcast was supposed to be. And I think we've stayed pretty true to that over the last 4 years. But it's funny.
As we do here at the Grunge Bible.
Absolutely, as we do. So let's kind of get into some stuff. We've got stuff from all over the dartboard here for things that occurred that day. I pulled a couple of the top stories from that day's edition of the New York Times, and it kind of reminds you the point in time that happened. And I remember even just like when we set out to record it, what was going on in the world. And some of the 3 headlines here that I pulled: U.S. to send millions of vaccine doses to Mexico and Canada, and obviously right at the height of COVID. And that was like right shortly after the vaccine had come out, and I think before it had gotten, very politicized, as it has been and still is to this day. But interesting, that was the iteration of that. Additionally, the next headline was Europe's drug regulator says AstraZeneca vaccine is safe. And then lastly, a little bit of a timely one, as all of these are. The last headline that I pulled was Russia erupts in fury over Biden's calling Putin a killer. And that was before the war in Ukraine started, when Russia invaded. That was right at the start of Biden's term. And obviously, this isn't a politics podcast, but certainly if you're paying attention, a lot of those themes still exist today. But the stories have changed and the individuals involved have changed. But yeah, man, the early 2021 world was so different than the world that we operate in today.
Yeah, it really was. That's like a year. It was a year into when I lived in Birmingham. I had just moved here in 2019. So I had a full year under me, but then obviously everything got shut down, and actually
that whole 2020 was just like a write-off year. Like I don't know what was going on, day to day. And I remember you moved down there and you were getting ready for the 2020 season for JAV, having had
trials.
that first fall and winter. Yeah, it was an Olympic year. You're getting ready to go, and then the world stopped.
Yeah, and it just pushed everything to the next year. So Olympic trials were in 21, and so we trained that whole year. And I just remember, like, obviously we couldn't do anything traditionally, but we were still able to play disc golf.
Yeah.
You could sneak out. I mean, it was, weird restrictions and no one knew what was going on, but we had to get out and be active. But I just remember, like, I was talking to Justin the other day because we moved all of our stuff, and we have, that's when I got him into disc golf.
Yeah.
And I would play like a couple times a week with my brother. Like, we played a lot. And so when COVID happened, I got him and this other guy, John, who was living with us, John Putnam. And I got them both into it, and then they just started buying discs, and we would play every day.
Yeah.
Like, he would work a little bit. I think I don't know if I worked a little bit at the coffee shop, or we trained, but like we played disc golf every day during that time because it was all, you couldn't do anything else, and everything was just at a standstill, and it felt like that. So we were just hiking and playing disc golf. Like, we were just able to, there was a nice course that was in the woods, and like it's just crazy. It's just a weird time that it was like a long stretch of. That's all we did. You just like stayed inside, and the only time we got out was when we played disc golf, and that was like it.
Yeah, and just like how much time as a result, because the options were limited. Like you couldn't go to other places to do things indoors, so it's just like if you were leaving the house, like you were going outside. Like I to this day, like the amount of time I spent, like if I was reading, I was like, I'm gonna go outside and read because like I want to do that. And like at the time, like all the gyms had closed. Like I was running at the time, and I was running all the time. I was out walking all the time, doing all those things. It's just kind of so strange to look back to. And I hadn't even moved out of home yet. I had moved away from Iowa in 2020 back home, and I was still living at home when we started this podcast. And I moved out in May of 2021. So the first, I think, 10 or 15 episodes were from my family's house. And then I moved a little bit to where I continue to be this day. But yeah, it's kind of weird to look back at what was going on in the world, and also what was going on in the sports world. I pulled a couple of events here. just to kind of check in here. So on March 19th of 2021, that was the era too where I know in the NBA and the NHL, like players were still testing positive all the time, and games were getting postponed. Fans still couldn't attend with full strength.
Fantasy football was a mess.
Arena. It was a complete mess. You had Wednesday games, Thursday games, and looking back, trying to pull some scores from that day from NBA and the NHL. I saw like each of them had a handful of games that were marked as postponed because players were testing positive and they didn't have the manpower to contest those games. But a couple of the ones that I did pull on that day, the Sacramento Kings beat the Boston Celtics 107-96. De'Aaron Fox dropped 29 on the Celtics. Which is tough, but obviously the Celtics have persisted, and the Kings have a decent squad out there, I suppose.
Fox is on the Spurs now, though. He got moved this past year. He's a Kentucky guy. I went to school with him.
No, I didn't know that. No league sees its players move around more than the NBA.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, all over the place. The next sports note here on that day, the Washington Capitals beat the New York Rangers 2-1 off the back of 2 Alexander Ovechkin goals. And that's topical now because I think he's less than 10 goals away from tying and presumably, eventually, if all goes well, passing Wayne Gretzky for the most goals scored by a single player in NHL history. I know Ovechkin Watch is continuing in earnest right now, which is great.
He just allegedly passed up the open net goal last night to give one of his teammates a hat trick. And,
King.
He's going to get it anyway. I mean, do you want to see him break it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's going to break it. He's absolutely going to break it.
But Wayne Gretzky is Mr. Hockey.
Yeah, I know, but
Canadian. I mean, now we got, a Russian's going to take the lead for, the best hockey player. I don't know. And it feels kind of, I don't know. I love Ovechkin, though. I was always an Ovechkin over Crosby guy. I despise the Penguins and Crosby, so I was always an Ovi fan. He's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Ovechkin is obviously, in all likelihood, going to take the goal record. He's got 886 right now compared to Gretzky's 894. But in terms of assists, Ovechkin's assisted on 717 goals. So cumulatively, that gives him 1,603 points. And Wayne Gretzky has 2,857 points. And no one's ever going to touch that, obviously.
Just his assists in general. I don't think
no chance. He's got almost 2,000 assists. He's got 1,963 on his career. I mean, the game was so different then. There was a year that he put up 212 points, 92 goals, and 120 assists.
Yeah.
One year he assisted on 163 goals. I mean, those are. I mean, back then though.
I think last year Connor McDavid was trying to get 100 assists.
Yeah, and that was unfathomable.
Right, and Gretzky did it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, back the NHL in the 80s, there was a big influx of teams from the late 70s to the 80s, and the talent level, on the third and fourth lines and the third pair defense and in net, the technique the goalies played with, I feel like if you or I knew how to skate relatively well, we could probably put up 10 goals in a year back then.
Wow, that's a great honor.
The problem though is that we'd have our heads taken off because there were no penalties back then. Different game in a different time.
That's like asking the question, do you think you could hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball or kick a field goal in the NFL or get 5 yards rushing on a play or something like that?
Yeah.
Can you score 10 goals in a season? I think I could.
Just stand in front of the net and try to deflect them off your body, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have Ovechkin, just shoot at me.
Yeah. Then you lose all your teeth, break your jaw, break your patella. But hey, you gotta get the puck into the net at any cost. So I'm
shots on goal.
Shots on goal, man. You got to do it.
That's this pod.
Yeah, exactly. We've just been hammering one-timers
right now.
Hammering one-timers at the net. I don't know what our shooting percentage is, but God knows we're going to be putting up those shots on goal. The last sporting event that I have is on this day in 2021 was the official the first day that NFL free agents could sign contracts that year. So similar to how it always goes, the announcements always happen, but then they can't actually sign the contracts until a certain day. So March 19th of 21 was signing day, and some of the I just pulled a couple. Trey Hendrickson had signed with the Bengals after a stint with the Saints, and then that was the year that the Patriots went on a shopping spree.
I remember this.
Yeah, man, they pulled in Nelson Aguilar, Matt Judon, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Jalen Mills, and I think a few others that year to bolster their team. They ended up making the playoffs that year. As the last year they made the playoffs to this day, but they got smacked around by the Bills, I remember. But what a historic day in sports history.
I remember them signing Johnny Smith and Hunter Henry, two big tight ends for like
the top two tight ends
millions.
on the board, and they're just like, they're ours.
And they did not really perform.
No, Henry's been fine, but Jonnu Smith, they didn't use him at all.
No,
in the way
I was
that
just saying,
should.
they both were
he had like
great.
900 yards last year for the Dolphins, like crazy.
Oh yeah, and the year before he got signed, I forget who he was with.
He was with the Titans.
That's what I was gonna say. Titans. He killed it. And then like he went to an offense where I don't even was Brady the quarterback?
No, it was Mac Jones's rookie year.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow,
McCorkle Jones, who just signed with the Niners to be their backup.
Full name?
McCorkle, yeah.
Good for him. God bless him.
God love him.
God love him, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't know Trey Hendrickson was with the Saints before. I missed that.
Yeah, he was with them for I think they drafted him.
He's a free agent now too.
He is.
History repeats itself.
Yeah, so they drafted him, and I think he played like 3 years or 4 years with them or something.
Wow.
But then they had so much money on the books with their big money guys, and they're still in salary cap hell from it, and they had to let some people go.
They're in the worst spot of the league, I'd say. I would hate to be a Saints fan.
Yeah, Saints or Browns, man. It's tough sledding out there.
Yeah, but the Browns they may get a good quarter. They might get Russell Wilson on here.
They might. Yeah, he's taking a trip there. It might happen.
Where the Saints are stuck with Derek Carr.
Just like everybody out there is stuck with the Grunge Bible podcast.
I know. Everybody listening right now is probably like, what are these guys talking about? But sports it has a heavy influence on us, so we're going to keep talking about it. So some other random things that happened in 21. I like this one. We were talking about the other day. The national average price for a gallon of gas was $2.94. Now it's only $3.07. And I was just saying to Chris the other day that I got gas for $2.40 the other day, $2.48 or something like that. But that's like the lowest I can remember in a long time. So $2.94. I mean, I feel like it's been pretty steady the last 5 years, around $2.90 here in Alabama. Obviously, you probably pay a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more. I just gassed up today for $2.79, I think. So
that's awesome.
That's with like 10 cents off. But I mean, it's going up, it's going down, it's going left, it's going right. One thing that has certainly not stayed consistent, in March of 2021, the national median price for a home was $359,600. And as of this recording, the national median price is $446,300, firmly putting an end to any illusion I have about becoming a homeowner now or anytime within probably the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. 100 grand.
Yeah.
Not as crazy as this next one though.
Yeah, this one's crazy.
Now, buying a house, like you said, it doesn't. I feel like that doesn't affect everybody.
No, I don't think about it when I wake up, and it's not something I deal with weekly.
But something I battle with every week is when I go into the grocery store and I look at the carton of eggs, and I see the eggs that I like to buy. I mean, I like to buy nicer eggs,
get the
if
good
possible,
eggs, yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're up to like $10 now, $12, like literally $1 an egg. The average price for 12 eggs 4 years ago was $1.62. Now the average is $5.90.
And that's for like your generic, like
that's like the
average
eggs
like
you're worried about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I was up in Canada last month visiting my girlfriend, and apparently, I didn't know this, but Canada has like a fairly robust domestic egg production system, and like their eggs were cheaper because usually everything in Canada is a little bit more expensive because their dollar is a bit weaker than ours. But I think like a carton of eggs there, like I bought from like $3.50 or $4, so that was nice. But then I came back, I usually buy like the 18 pack though, so my price is a little skewed. But what are you gonna do?
What are you going to do? Yeah, you can't. I mean,
I need eggs.
You need eggs. I have definitely it used to be like, oh, just eat 6 eggs, get your protein, whatever. I have a very balanced breakfast because of the price of eggs going up. I'm a big Greek yogurt. You can always get yogurt on sale. Yogurt is killer.
Yeah, yogurt's a mainstay for sure.
Yogurt bowls, baby.
Yogurt, cottage cheese.
Yeah,
man, 100%.
All right. Billboard time.
Time for the charts. We love a good chart.
So the top song in the Billboard Hot 100 back then was Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo. And is this when she popped? Is
Yeah,
like
this was the beginning
is
of
it?
the Olivia Rodrigo phenomenon. As we'll talk about a bit later, her first album Sour came out that year. But that at the time, March 19th, Driver's License was enjoying its 8th consecutive week atop the Billboard Hot 100. It was the final week at the top of the list. And now, as we shift forward, the top song on the Billboard Hot 100 is "What's Next" by Drake. I don't know that song, but
I actually don't know. He just released an album like 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
So
it's got to be one from there.
and it was after the Super Bowl, which yeah,
Naturally.
actually the next one actually ties back into it a little bit. So
Yeah.
the top album in Billboard 200 back in the day was "Dangerous," the double album by Morgan Wallen, and that was the 8th week of a 10-week run at the top. I'm not a huge Morgan Wallen fan.
Certainly not.
Yeah, it's just something people loved him, and that was also when he was kind of blowing up, and people. I feel like right at the end of college, it might have been a few years. It might have been 19 or something when he really hit the stage. I don't know.
Yeah.
But now the top album is GNX by Kendrick Lamar. So I think that's pretty interesting. Top song is a Drake song. Top album is Kendrick Lamar. You know,
The feud continues.
They got that beef. I don't know if it's continued. I think it's pretty much. I think we have a winner here.
Yeah, I think Kendrick won by unanimous decision.
Yeah, I think that there was an onslaught. It was just too much. And but I love rapper beefs and different band beefs. Like I enjoy. I mean, maybe how they're going about it now. I don't know, or the subject matter, I guess. But I do like the competitiveness in the industry that you see. You don't get many like band beefs these days that you did like you had back in the day.
No,
where
man,
bands didn't like each other and didn't support each other. But
things aren't like they used to be.
this next one's good though.
Yeah,
you got it.
This is a really good one. So on March 19th, 2021, an Instagram page known as Grunge Bible had 272,000 followers on Instagram. And as of this morning, Grunge Bible has 902,720 followers. So closing in on the million. And then
Almost 4x,
yeah, man, almost 4x,
which is pretty cool per year.
That's not bad. Yeah, things are moving. After a million, I mean, whatever. It don't really matter.
I mean, it's like that now, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's no more milestone after this, man. After term number 2 on the podcast throne, there's not really much else out there.
And lastly, when we started the pod, Chris was 24 years of age and I was 26. We are now 28 and 30, and we're not getting any younger. And pretty. I don't know. It's pretty significant. 4 years is a long time, man. We were such different people at 20. I think about that a lot, looking at my throwing from over the years, and just, and I'm sure you think about it when you're lifting too, like what it felt like 4 years ago, because you have a pretty good recollection of your feelings and how you competed or how you felt and how easy it was to train. Usually it's because training is difficult now, and you go, what has changed? Oh, yes, I am older. That makes sense. That's
yeah, exactly. It's like a bunch of time went by. That's what changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like I remember at the time, like I think I mentioned in the first episode that we did, I was training to run a marathon at the time. And I did end up doing that in May of 2021. My first, and to this day, only marathon that I've run. But it's in the books. Nobody can ever say that I didn't do it.
That's right. Got the t-shirt.
Damn right. That's very, very important. So that's a look back to this day in various measuring sticks that we have. But let's talk a little music now, Ethan, because 2021 was a pretty solid year for music. And a lot of these I have a memory of them coming out and listening to them, and certainly kind of serving in different capacities as a soundtrack to what I was doing at the time. So what do you say we chat about some of these albums that came out throughout the year in 2021? Yeah,
absolutely. There's a lot of good ones. I mean, I saw a review that said music was not that good during that time. I think it aged well. I think there's a lot of stuff, at least like the artists are, I don't know. We'll see. We'll just talk about it. Like, I think to start, Drake had Certified Lover Boy, which we talked about. That was actually one of my more, I don't know if you listen to Drake. I do kind of, but that was a pretty big album, and I thought it was pretty solid. On the same thing, Kanye West released Donda, which was really interesting.
Well, I remember at the time they both came out at like damn near the same time of the year in the summer, and I remember listening to both of them because everybody was talking about them, and yeah, not two artists that I would typically spend too much time with. Although I did spend more time with Kanye stuff than I've never been a Drake listener. But obviously, in light of recent events, Kanye West is not in anybody's good graces at this moment. But yeah, I remember when that one came out. I really worked on it for like a super long time, and then that was
he did that big concert in China, and it was like.
There's a whole bunch of weird shit
epic.
going on. Yeah, I'm telling you, like when he dies, like whatever was like, if we can study that dude's brain to figure out what the hell actually happened with him, it's gonna be an interesting case. He's got like the musician's version of
genius.
CTE.
Yeah, he's like the way that he just does everything so differently. It's pretty wild. I'm amazed by him. I don't know why. For better or for worse, he's just like he does it differently. He's interesting.
Yeah, definitely interesting to the point of fucking selling swastika T-shirts too. That's not particularly good.
Yeah, you know,
not good.
Not good. But
not good. But some things that are good. There's some albums here, Ethan, on this list that we definitely were big fans of. So as we mentioned, that was the year that Olivia Rodrigo's debut album Sour came out. Billie Eilish came out with an album called Happier Than Ever. J. Cole was in there with The Off Season. War on Drugs, I Don't Live Here Anymore. But there's a trio here right down at the end of the list that we definitely were aware of and listened to a bunch. 2021 was the year of Lean Into Life from Petey. It was also the year of Jerry Cantrell's Brighton, and it was the year that John Mayer came out with Sob Rock. 3 albums. I actually I went to a tour date of each of those 3 albums.
Oh, you saw John that year?
Yeah, I saw. It wasn't that year. He released the album in like I think mid to late 2021, and then the Sob Rock tour was like winter 21 into spring 22, and I saw him in Boston in like April of 2022 at the basketball arena.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like second to last row of the stadium, and I was going on dates with a girl at the time, and like I took her, so it was like a date night kind of thing, which was interesting. But yeah, it was a good show. John Mayer's the man.
Yeah, John Mayer. Yeah, he rips. Yeah, the Jerry. I saw 2 out of the 3. I didn't get to see Mayer that year.
Yeah, I just added it because you said Sob Rock earlier, and I was like, wait a second, I think that came out that year too.
Yeah, but the Lean Into Life, the PD, I wasn't sure if it was exactly 21. I thought maybe it was 22. But that album is going to be on my. That's like it's going to be on my all-time list forever.
Yeah,
for sure.
Me too.
Like, there's a few albums that I'm just like, oh yeah, like it's cemented. And same thing, I was like thinking about how music changes. You know, the way you think about music just changes without you really noticing. And I think when you listen to an artist, like sometimes you listen to an artist, you're like, I'm going to make this one of my favorite artists. But really, I don't think you have a choice.
You can't choose it, yeah.
Yeah, like you can't actually be naturally supporting somebody if it's unnatural. I don't know. You can't make like you just have a favorite artist. And Petey, like this was the start of that where we just listened to him and we loved it. We started consuming everything, and all of a sudden, like it just became very clear that we loved his music and we were going to be a fan forever. And like I don't know, it's hard to, you never know who your favorite artist is going to be, and we were gifted one in 2021. Yeah. And pretty awesome because you know, it's just, like I said, it's kind of undescribable why we like his music so much. It's hard to say why it's better than, you know, I'd probably want to go listen to him more than the Rolling Stones, where Rolling Stones are forever, most likely. We don't know the history. We don't know the future
Petey
yet.
Could stick at it for another 60 years.
Yes. But like, you know, if we were betting men, Rolling Stones are going to be always a much bigger artist than Petey, but I will forever like Petey more than the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Just how, because I wasn't there. Maybe it was because I wasn't there, Chris.
Well, we can't talk about the Stones because we weren't born then.
Cut that, Drew.
Yeah, exactly. Cut that. He's going to have to cut everything because we're talking about so much shit that happened from before the time that we were born. But you said earlier when we were doing the check-in, you're like, I wonder like what this year is like going to be the year of the blank. And like everybody's got like an album of the year or like the album that was the soundtrack to their like that year for them or that point of their life. And unequivocally Lean Into Life was like my album of 2021 and 2022. And I remember I learned about Petey because you chose Don't Tell the Boys as one of the first songs of the week that we did. And I listened to it and immediately listened to the album and immediately developed a connection with it. And it's kind of funny, like this podcast coincides with like an interesting point in my life. And as a result, that album does, where like I had just moved out of my family's house into my own apartment. And it was in a lot of ways, it was my first real crack at adulthood because I had gone to school in Iowa and I worked for the university for a couple of years. And I was very much just kind of like, I might as well have been a student. Like I was still there. Like I was, everything I did was like for the university. My schedule was locked in. I didn't have much free time and necessarily many people to spend that free time with. And I remember like I moved into this apartment that spring in 2021. And like, I was very intent about like doing whatever I wanted. Like I was going out all the time. I was staying up late. I was just having as many experiences, like adult experiences as I could, doing different things that one, I didn't have the opportunity to do it. But secondly, at that time, nobody had the opportunity to do for almost a year because of COVID and everything being closed or severely restricted. And that year, man, like it was so much fun. And that album was with me every step of the way. I mean, how many drives home from wherever I was going or whatever I was doing, like I just put that album on, like taking a road trip down to Pennsylvania or going up to see Cullen in New Hampshire or something. It's like, that was the album that I always put on and I never got tired of it. And I'm still not tired of it. Yeah. And it's just funny. It's like my figuring out adulthood album. And it's always going to be that way.
Lean Into Life.
Yeah, dude.
And it's topical. It actually like fits everything you're saying. Like sometimes you just got to lean into life. And I was listening to it on my way home today. Threw it on because I knew we were going to talk about it, and I'm just like, man, it's California,
as
Apple
soon as
TV
the opening,
remote, like all of it. I'm just like takes you right back and just
man. You put that album on front to back. As soon as the opening part, the electronic beat for California comes on, it just immediately like a time machine. It's funny too because like all these years that we've spent listening to people talk about how like Pearl Jam or whoever like gave voice and like helped hone the way that they viewed the world and like who they were as people. Kind of looking back, like that album did a lot of that for me. And it like in a weird way, it informed like who I wanted to be and like what I wanted my life to look like. And it's weird being able to recognize that now because I can so vividly remember that moment in time. I guess it just comes with the territory of years passing that you have the ability to look back and make that like, yeah, that was the one.
It's exactly right. You have to let time pass to really understand the impact that certain albums have on you. Mm-hmm. I think that, like I said, that one it's very clear what it did for us and why we still like it. I can think of like 3 or 4 albums that I feel the same way, and like, or just art, just artists in general. It's just like, oh yeah, that year was, you could easily put, Isaac Brock or Brian Sella, like these guys were in control that year, and it was, thankful for it. Petey, I actually made me, like I said, I want to go listen to, because I always go back to that album, and I need to go listen to Petey USA again, because he's got a new one coming out. Hopefully in the summer, right? I mean, he released that single, so hopefully, I don't know. I didn't see any dates. Did he release anything?
No, nothing. So he released Model Train Town came out like a month ago, and he's been teasing a new song called The Milkman Cometh. That like his social media campaign is like, I've written the song of the summer and it's not even out yet, and it's just like this like whimsical thing. But I believe the man. I think it might be the song of the summer.
The Milkman Summer, that could hold.
Milkman. Absolutely. We're getting that delivery bright and early. I'm glad that you mentioned
The
Modest
milkman and the
Mouse.
mailman.
Yeah, man, and the fresh tendrils. I'm glad that you mentioned Isaac Brock and Modest Mouse, because I listened to so much Modest Mouse that year, and like I remember like I'd have like friends over to my apartment like all the time, and like we just sit, like we'd go out and we come back to my place and like we'd have beers on the porch, and like they'd go home or whatever, and like I'd always just like sit out there for a little bit and listen to Modest Mouse, and like stay up and just like do all those things. And I remember like the birds start chirping in my neighborhood at like 3:34 in the morning during the summertime, and like I'd stay up like kind of, until they were chirping. It's like, all right, it's time to go to bed at like 3 or 4, and you wake up at 10, do it all over again. And it's a good time in my life with a lot of good music.
The Modest Mouse effect is unbeatable in my opinion.
Yeah. Everybody needs to do it.
You show the band to somebody, and I feel like everybody goes through a really similar experience of listening and contemplating. And maybe it's because most of the people that I've showed it has been in their 20s, or young, 19 to 30, because obviously that's the age we are. I think that it would still work in the older ages, but for some reason, it seems undefeated.
Especially
I haven't met anybody that doesn't like them.
No, I agree. And
I'll say that.
And the people that like them, it's not just like, yeah, it sounds good. Like they'll listen to the lyrics and they'll take a lot from it. Like those first like 3 or 4 Modest Mouse albums, especially This Is a Lonesome Drive, like that first album is just so good. And it, in a similar fashion to Petey, I think it like in tandem, those two musicians or groups or whatever, like informed a lot of who I am in a way, which is kind of wild to think about and look back on. It's been a weird 4 years.
Yeah, it has. Also, in that year, Glow On by Turnstile was released, the album, which we've talked about recently on the pod a few times, and that was I think their most recent album. I think they had.
I think so. Yeah, that one was everywhere too. I remember.
And it's really big, and we kind of missed the boat on it, so I don't want to speak too much on it, but people are they're really popping right now. So, and that album has a lot to do with it. So, check that one out too if you haven't. Yeah,
2021 was the first year that like I started religiously going to shows too. I remember like I'd never been 21. I'd never been like a concert guy, and I think I went to 6 of them that year, because nobody really started playing until that fall, once again because of the COVID capacity restrictions and everything. And I saw Springsteen on Broadway, the Black Crowes, Julian Baker, Soccer Mommy, Phoebe Bridgers, and I went to my first Wonder Years show. And yeah, it was kind of similar to like finding a band, finding an artist that you like, and you're like, all right, like this is something that I'm into. Like I remember going to shows, I'm like, all right, like this is like I want to do a lot of this, and I've certainly done a lot of it, which is great to have had those opportunities.
Oh yeah, just such a good activity, like going to see live music. I mean, it's hard for people, the like casual experience, social experience these days just revolves around like, I guess, a brewery or dinner or something. Like you need more events, the live music scene is still like, he's got to do something. I don't know. I feel like less and less people want to do things. They just want to like be together, which I love being with people. I mean, dude, you want to ask me to go get a beer at 4:00 in the afternoon?
Say less.
I'm in. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm all for it, but I like doing things, and concerts still, like every time I go to a concert, I'd be like, yep, this is why I love concerts. Like it's always a good experience, even if the band is not my favorite, because I've been to those too.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
So, more concerts. 2025, more concerts.
More concerts. We need them.
If that's possible.
Yeah. Do you have any tickets lined up this year?
Dude, I don't think I do. Wilco is coming to Avondale, and I'm really tempted to get a Wilco ticket.
That'd be cool.
But no, I don't think I have anything like. There's a few that like. Let me think on that for a second. Do you have any? I was gonna say there's a few that like. I think I'm set that if they come in, I'm like, if Delicate Steve, like I will, there's nothing that will stop me. No amount that I won't pay to go see Delicate Steve.
Yeah.
There's like a few, but I'm waiting. How about you? You have anything lined up?
I've so I saw Foster the People in Toronto like a month ago, I guess now. But next week and I guess suppose this week once the podcast comes out. Me and three of my buddies were going to Boston to see, the band Helmet. So Helmet's playing a 30th anniversary tour of, I forget the name of the album, but we're going because the opener for Helmet is a band called Slow Mosa, which is this like super cool like stoner rock adjacent band from somewhere in Europe, I think. But me and my buddies, like, we're big fans of that band, so we decided to get some tickets, and we're gonna go up and see them. So I got a ticket. I just bought the ticket like a couple days ago. Like, we just decided that we were gonna do it. I've got tickets to see the Wonder Years. Naturally, they're playing in May, I think in Worcester, Massachusetts. But then one that I'm really excited for, and I think also in May, but in Providence, PD and Medium Build are doing a co-headlining tour solo, where like they're gonna play their song solo and probably do some stuff together. I got tickets to that, so I'm super jacked off
like
to be
acoustic?
able to go see that. Yeah, the acoustic electric. Their whole like announcement was like, yeah, like we're gonna do acoustic, like we'll do electric, like I'll play my songs, he'll play his, like we might play each other's songs, like come hang out with us. So like that sounds perfect. It's a small venue that's like 10 minutes from my house, so you can't beat it.
You got tickets already?
Yeah, I got 2.
It's awesome.
Yeah, man, that'd be good.
Who are you going with?
I think,
or you just buy 2?
So Cullen wants to come down, but I also think my girlfriend might try to come visit around that time. So like we'll go if she can go, but if she can make it down here that time. But if not, I'm sure we'll be able to find tickets. So
if not, I'll
come on up. Yeah,
I'll swing through.
Yeah, dude. Anyways, you should. Yeah.
The other band I was thinking, the Delicate Steve, he's on the short list. Like I'm going.
Oh yeah.
The other one would be King Gizzard and the Lizard
the
Wizard.
Lizard Wizard.
They're on my very short list. Like, it's one of those things where I talked to a friend and his father went and saw, and he said, don't miss. He's like, if they come, and do not miss your chance. Like, it's happening live right in front of us. They're going to be huge. They're going to be there for a long time. I mean, they've been around for a few years, but like, don't miss your chance.
Yeah,
so
man.
I'm locked in, and I'm waiting because they're doing a lot of, I think they're Australian, so they get to the US, but not all, I mean,
not always.
Yeah, not always. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, man. Yeah. And this is about the time of the year that everybody's announcing their like summer tours or fall tours. Yeah. So
the pressure is about to be upon us.
Yeah. The anxiety of seeing that Instagram post of a whole bunch of text with like a fun graphic at the top. And as soon as you see that, it's $80 to $120 because you got to buy 2.
Yep.
And so it goes.
I can't wait. I can't wait to put handcuffs on dates way down the line.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Oh man, the stress. Can't beat it.
All right. Well, I think that we go. We had 2 more things that we wanted to talk about. I'm not sure where your head's at, Chris. We've been kind of rolling for a long time.
Yeah.
You want to do a greatest hits of the Grunge Bible podcast for the last 4 years?
I think that makes sense. And then afterwards, if we want to do the last portion, we can. But this is the time to look back on the first term of this administration.
Yeah.
So to tout all of our accomplishments, this is our State of the Union.
Yeah. So we've been talking about greatest hits the last couple of weeks. It's came up, and it is no better way to put your best foot forward. And let everybody know that you have produced some good stuff. So this is the Grunge Bible greatest hits of the last 4 years. Some of our favorite episodes that you should go back and check out if you hadn't listened to it. Each of them, honestly, I mean, going through, there's so many that we could bring on. There's a lot of guests that were really enjoyable that I would like to randomly I want to go back and listen to a few of them. Like I want to go, we talked to Yellow Trash Can. I don't know if you remember that. And
Yeah,
I
do remember that.
So fun artists, and there's so many people, June Swoon, there's so many people along the way. But so we whittled it down to, 12? Definitely 10.
I think there's 10 or 12 of them on
here.
Yeah,
so some random stuff for different reasons. So I think this is chronological, which is a nice job, Chris, putting in order. So if you go back to episode 35, in our first year, we did a music and mental health episode during Mental Health Awareness Month. And it was just really good. And I think it was one of our stronger ones in the first year, which, I don't know. We were pretty solid back then, but like we got much better.
So I remember this episode because it was one of the earlier ones that we recorded, and as soon as we finished it, we both said to one another that we thought it was pretty solid. And then I think it might have been Andrew, I think, texted you that he had listened to it, and he said that it was really good and he really appreciated it. It may have been somebody else, I don't remember, but that was one of the first episodes that we did that was kind of more like obtusely related to music, that wasn't like, hey, we're going to talk about this album or this band. And it kind of, one, it was a really important topic, and I think we had some good points. But secondly, it was like a confidence builder for me, in the sense that like we could talk about stuff that was outside of the purview of maybe what people were tuning in to listen to us talk about.
Yeah.
And I remember that feeling. It was like, all right, like we do perhaps have the ability to kind of get outside of the box here and talk about things that we think are important, or things that we have things to add on to. So I'll always be grateful that we did that episode.
Yeah. No, it's a good way to put it. And it definitely opened up our kind of open up the sails of what we can talk about, and what we have an influence on, and how we can have an influence on other people. So
yeah,
and we keep it up, man, every day. How we doing? That's that, check in on your homies. That's what we're doing.
It's important. As Petey said, there's nothing more important than checking up on buds. So that's what we're doing. The next episode that we tabbed for our greatest hits was episode 38, which was the first time that Eric Lederman came on. And that was just an absolute killer of an episode. That was also the first interview that we had ever recorded, outside of you, me, or Drew being on the show. We had recorded that in November of 2021, but we didn't release it, I think, for a month later or so. And that was just such a great call, such a great chat with Lederman. And I think, certainly safe to say that he's one of our pals for the duration and going forward. Now he's one of our guys, and I love that dude, man.
Just like when you never know what band you're going to be one of your favorites, or what album is going to have an impact.
Who your guy's going to be. You
never know when you first talk to Lederman just how much you're going to love that guy.
Yeah.
And he's incredible. So shout out Eric. We know you're probably not listening because he's super busy. We'll tell him that we shouted him out.
Yeah, we will.
Episode 80. So in the second year of our pod, we went to the Taylor Hawkins tribute show. This was an important. I think this was the first time you saw the Front Bottoms. We went out there.
It was. Yep, we saw the front. I saw the Front Bottoms for the first time in Colorado, and then we drove. Yep.
We stopped in
Utah,
Zion.
Stopped in Zion, camped in Utah, and then we drove. I remember that morning from Utah to LA, and then we went to the Hawkins tribute show that night.
And and that was a absolute
6-hour show.
6-hour show, and then we recorded the podcast like the next day with Drew. First time doing a full in-person pod. Did 3 hours. If you remember, obviously you do. Adam was on that one, and Chris. Yep. How funny to think about that. We drove that far to get to the concert, and somehow we made it on time with Adam being a part of the party.
It was close, man. I remember like somehow Adam was almost close. Ready by the time that we got there, and in the time it took us to quick shower up, he ended up being ready in time for us to get to the forum.
I think he was late. I think that we got there. I think we wanted to get pizza, and he's like, "Oh, we have time."
Never have time. Yeah, that was a good episode. I remember I was getting sick at the time. Like I remember my voice sounded like shit when we were sitting on Drew's couch doing it. And Connor was there as well because he went to the show with us, but he declined an on-screen, on-camera role. And I remember he was responsible for getting us wine refills, which was a very important task. So that was a good episode. I remember just talking about. I remember how important that show was at the time and how lucky we were to have been there for sure.
Man, I wonder if that's one of Connor's biggest regrets, not being on camera and on the
missing out. You get it on the ground floor as being a Grunge Bible podcast on-air talent. The next episode we'll shout out was episode number 100, which I think goes without saying to this day was the most prep that we have ever done for a singular episode, and probably the most prep that we'll ever do for a singular episode, where we counted down our top 100 grunge songs. Somewhere on my computer, on my hard drive, I still have the file because we recorded the Brain rainstorm for that, which took
right.
It took like 3 or 4 hours. That was one session. I remember we had a call, we had a preliminary session to get 100, and then we did another session to rank them. And
that's right. We do have the audio, or we have the. Did we video it too?
It's got to be somewhere. I don't think I got rid of it.
The archive.
I remember it took us 2 sessions to record it. I think we did like numbers 100 down to 40, and then we came back the next day to do 39 through 1. But to this day, it's our most listened to podcast episode that we've done, and people really seem to have appreciated that one. That was
that 1 million.
I'm proud
views.
of that one.
Yeah, that is our magnum. That one's gonna be at the top for a while.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to it. Actually, I think I recently did listen to it.
Yeah, it's a good listen though, because we were pretty judicious about spending like 2 to 3 minutes on each song and then keeping it moving.
But we talked about every song.
We talked about every song on that list.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so episode 122, when we had PD on, this was a big watershed moment for our page, because we actually interviewed somebody that we didn't think was going to happen. Like, I mean, Liederman, I mean, he was very, I don't know, it was an artist that we like really looked up to, and it was like a wow, I can't believe we're doing this. We felt like we arrived, and we actually had someone that we admired, like truly, because of the album that we just took 20 minutes to talk about for probably the 10th time on this podcast.
Yeah. And the
it was so enjoyable.
And I think the interesting thing about this one was this is the first time that we were able to interview somebody who our relationship with them did not start through the page. It started with being fans of their music. Like, I remember we were fans of Petey, Grunge Bible, not being a part of that. And then, through a little bit of luck, and we were able to connect with him and obviously have him on that day, which was super cool. And just,
got to get him back.
Oh yeah, I would love to get him back. Yeah, man, that was a good episode. I'm glad that we were able to do that. I remember recording that one and then releasing it. And we did some promo stuff for the USA album, and we released a couple of exclusive clips on Grunge Bible for that one too. That was fun working with the fine folks at Capitol Records for that. So really, really happy that we were able to do that one. So
we also got the PDUSA album in advance, remember?
That's
because of the relationship. Dude.
I remember that. Yeah, because we were doing the interview. And he's like, "Have you guys gotten the album yet?" And we're like, "No, we haven't." He's like, "Oh." He's like, we gotta get that to you. And I remember like we had it for a couple of months before it came out, and I just remember like I was always driving around listening to that. Before it came, it was
through whatever stream. I got it when I was in Europe, and I listened to it the first time when I was over in Austria.
Yeah, man, that was a cool episode. The next edition of the Greatest Hits, we'll fast forward 4 weeks from the PD episode. We'll go to episode number 126. And this we recorded on a Friday night, I remember. And the full episode title was Lane's Birthday and A Canned Heat Summer. And this episode, for amount of time we spent recording to the actual amount of time that ended up being released, is the biggest differential, because I think it took us probably 2.5 hours to record it. And the episode, I think, only ended up being about 40 minutes long.
No way.
Yeah, it was a short episode.
We had to pull the plug. Yeah, this one, I mean, you may wonder why it's such a random episode may be on the list, but we partook in Friday beers plus maybe a Scooby snack here and there. And it was, we had technical difficulties, which was just having the cord plugged in the wrong direction we needed to. We
encountered so many technical difficulties and just conversational difficulties that were a result of our Scooby snack consumption prior to, which that was the first and only time that we've done that. We've done the baked. Friday beers things. We were baked.
We were baked.
That episode. We were absolutely zooted, and it was impossible to do the intro.
I'm glad I got that off my chest.
It was like, impossible to read the Patreon list, and anytime we were trying to make any sort of nuanced point about Lane or about Canned Heat, it just devolved into laughter or just losing your train of thought. And I remember like I'd be trying to make a point and be like, how long have I been talking? Which obviously, like, this
not
is the
that long. It was only
No.
40 minutes.
And like, obviously, this is like the most unoriginal experience that you could possibly have, because who hasn't gotten zooted and tried to talk to their buddies? But it was funny
Not on a
trying.
podcast, though.
That was the thing. It was difficult doing it for the podcast. But that would be a really funny one to. I'm gonna go and watch that one back on YouTube.
Good call.
Yeah,
good call.
That's gonna be an audio visual one.
I remember, like, it'd be so much fun. It would be so, like, introspective and be able to talk about. And I think we were. I had to go back and listen, but that was just so fun and funny. And it was just like, yeah, why not? Why can't we do something like this? So it was.
That one was
hilarious.
late too, because I remember, like, we decided that we were going to do it and we prepared, we loaded up for it, and we didn't record for another hour or 2 hours afterwards. So like it had well kicked in. Yeah, that was a tough episode to do.
Oh man, so
was a
funny,
great one.
so funny. So that's a good one to go back and listen to if you're just knowing what you know now. All right, episode 147. This was really fun. So Patrick Warburton had reached out to us, movie star and great voice of so many characters, and he had a story to tell. But he really had a friend in Scott Crane who, little did we know, was just an awesome interview. So much information on the Seattle Sound and Bainbridge Island, and it really was like. Honestly, it was like an introduction to grunge all over again for us. Somebody was there that could really speak on it, and Patty was so much fun. We got our first picture. We all had Zinn.
Yeah.
Patty was saying how he likes having Zinn, and it was just great. It was a high profile interview that we nailed. It was awesome.
It was funny because we had Warburton on for episode 146 the week prior. So like that 2 week span, like I spent more time talking to Patrick Warburton than I think I spent talking to my own mother during that span. But that was a good. We need to contact Scott Crane again and have him back on, because I remember we left that episode. He was like, I have so many different stories of the recording studio that he owned, and he's like that would make a really good episode. So we should reconnect with him and circle back.
Simple email.
Yeah, that was a really, really solid one. So we'll move forward to April of 2023. No, 24. Excuse me. Where the Grunge Bible podcast RSS feed was co-opted by a radio station out of New York. And there was a transmission of the Sack Fly, which is a afternoon drive show on 96.9 WFMZ with Gord Sinbin Simmons and Dick Playoff Richards. And I remember tuning in. I was like, what the hell is this doing on the Grunge Bible feed? And those two schmucks, they counted down their top 10 athletes of the 21st century. And it was a really interesting list. It didn't go where I was expected. And I think one of the guys had returned from some sort of suspension. The details around which to this day, I don't think are clear. But that was an interesting one, and just goes to show, I mean, I don't know what happened with that one. We went to record and boom, it was already there. Yeah,
it must get intercepted when we went to upload it.
Yeah.
But man, those guys, I mean, that's one of the favorite radio stations back in the day.
Yeah.
When I was younger listening. I think they're still rolling. I think that, they may, I think we can maybe get another taste of them coming up here soon. I don't know. But
well, it's like the first time was an accident. Like we didn't know. So maybe if we reached out to them and said, hey, like that went pretty well.
It gives us a break,
Exactly. Yeah. We need to tap out, take a a week-long break here, take a 168-hour break, and maybe see if Gord and Dick can hop back in the chair and give the Grunge Bible podcast listeners what they want.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. That was one of my favorite one, and it was non-grunge. Keep moving. We got a few more. So these are the greatest hits, so bear with us.
Yeah.
So this past year, for Mother's Day and Father's Day, we had Carlene Salona and David Shalloway on separate episodes for 164 and 169. And wow, just a great time to interview the parents. We talk to our parents a lot, but it's kind of fun when you have a camera rolling, and there's a possibility that somebody may hear what you have to say, and so like you ask them questions, and people respond different when a camera's rolling. Just like, I don't know, it was obviously, we talk to our parents all the time, so why did we have them on? And like, I don't know, the conversations felt were just awesome. It was so much
Yeah.
fun, really genuine, and like a lot of unexpected emotions, and it was awesome.
100%.
Really,
and,
really
and
good.
it was very analogous for me to getting the video camera out and preserving something. And it meant a lot to me to be able to have those conversations. Cause as you said, like we have them all the time with our parents, but to be able to do something, and one, share it with other people, but secondly, to be able to have something like that and preserve it, is really special. And it's cool to think that,
a little
we're
formal.
always going to have that. And it's special. And that was a really good call, that we were able to do that. And it's, it meant a lot to me and to you both. And I think to our parents too, to be able to do something like that. It was special to have them be a part of it.
Yeah.
All right. Closing in on a
more.
couple more here for the road. So we're gonna then move forward to some that came a little bit recently. So episode number 194, we had Noah Weiland on, which was great, and also funny how quickly and unexpectedly that episode and interview came together. I think within the matter of 36 hours, we went from communicating with him for the first time. He had reached out to us and shared some music with us, and we're like, hey, you want to come on and have a chat? And he was just so great to talk to, such an interesting young man, and very insightful, and a very talented artist too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and like I said, yeah, super responsive, and yeah, he reached out to us, which was so cool because we talk about Scott a lot, and it was 1 degree of separation. That's about as close as we're gonna get to Scott and something like that, and that's awesome because Noah is an awesome artist and up and coming, and it was really enjoyable. Which, yeah, there's a lot of moments like that with this crazy podcast, so I'm happy for it. And then the last one that we have,
speaking of crazy moments,
Christina, speaking of crazy moments, we had this idea for the 200th episode to do 200 minutes live, the first ever live podcast, which reminds me that we haven't done a live since, and we said we were gonna, which we are, but life's been hectic, a lot of traffic. But for episode 200, we went live for 200 minutes. Chris showed up late to the podcast.
First and only time I've been late.
First and only time, but he made sure that if he was late, he was going to be late. And Liederman joined us for surprisingly, totally unexpected, went the entire length.
Entire time.
We finished at like 3 a.m. Eastern because...
Oh man, it was so late. Oh my God.
And Liederman stayed the entire time. And I remember being so sloppy drunk, not like actually sloppy drunk, but like tired. And it was just like we were in limbo at the end of it all, but we did it. We nailed it. Drew was on for a little bit in the beginning. We got to interact with people. It was a lot of fun. And that was the most recent big moment for the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was
that brings us up to present tense.
Fever dream of an episode. So
yeah,
it's exciting to think about what the next couple of months and few years will bring in terms of moments and memories and cool things and cool people we'll be able to talk to on this show.
And we'll make another greatest hits for the next term because when you're really hitting it big, you got your greatest hits from each decade, from 70 to 80, from 80 to 90.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my dad had the greatest hits for U2, and he had like the 80s, 90s, 2000s, like he had them all. And I remember that's how I got into U2, was all the greatest hits, the CDs, because they were the only ones that we had. I remember taking my dad's U2 CDs and
So now that we've developed an extensive history here on the podcast as it exists with music, in the future, do you think there are going to be people where it's like, hey, you guys like the Grunge Bible podcast? Yeah, I do, but their earlier stuff was the best. They haven't done anything good since 2022.
I don't know, man. Yeah, you had to be there. You had to be there when they were pandering for talking about. I don't even know. I don't even know what people would like back then. I don't know. When's the heyday of the GB pod? Hopefully we're still in it.
It's like, Pearl Jam, like 10 in verses and that's it. It's like, first 50 episodes of the podcast, and then it's all gone downhill since. They've lost their base. They're out of touch. They sold out. They went woke.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I like to think that we have a podcast that you can go back and listen to. There's not much of an expiration date on it.
No, I don't think so either.
So that's nice.
Yeah.
Because there's a few, sports other pods where it's just like you got to consume it when it comes out, or it's not, it's not.
Yeah, you
it.
can't necessarily go back as easily. We certainly can here, man.
Yep. All right. Well, do you want to do anything else? You want to go right to songs of the week?
I think we should just go to songs of the week. We've been rolling for an hour and a half now. And
crazy.
There was one more segment that perhaps we'll do it next week if we feel like it. But I think we got everything done that we needed to.
Absolutely. Yep. We're just going to beat some more dead horses. So
yeah, they've been hit enough.
Yeah. All right. Songs of the week. So like I said, I've been kind of listening to some random stuff these past 2 weeks, but a song that the other night I feel like I just unpacked and I laid down on my couch and I was watching something, but for some reason I paused it and I found these headphones when I was moving out, so I wanted to try them out and I had charged them. I couldn't believe they charged. I've been sitting there. I don't know what, they were some wireless Samsung and they're pretty solid. I think, a roommate left them, but I didn't know if they worked or whatever, but They do. So I put them in. I had lit a candle because I've been trying to, I like candles at night. I hate overhead lights. And I was laying on my couch and I had the candle like flare on the ceiling, kind of like just pulsing. And I put these headphones in and I listened to a few songs, but like the first song that I'm not even sure. No, I think it was the same night that Rat-a-Tat, we talked about this.
Right.
I think on the pod, Rat-a-Tat produced Kid Cudi's "Pursuit of Happiness," a song, and on that same real thing. I think something came out with Starfucker. Do you know the band?
Oh
Starfucker?
yeah, I do know them. Yeah.
And so they have a song, Ronald Gregory Erickson, the seventh.
Yes, I love that song.
Oh yeah, and for some reason I was like, I totally forgot about this song. And it was like a video of them playing like super locked in, probably stoned or whatever, like back in like 2007. And I was like, okay. So I put it on and listened to it, headphones turned up loud, and it just captured me. And it was just like laying in my new apartment or my new home, just late at night, just me, staying up late for no reason, trying to control something. And this old, kind of an older school, like 15-year-old song, I think. And man, it was really, really good. I was like, this song is awesome. And I was like, these guys, Starfucker, pretty good band. If you never listened to them, it was awesome. It was a good experience, good listening experience.
Yeah, dude, that's a good moment right there. I like that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Your turn.
My turn. I sent you a text message about this a couple of days ago, but once the mercury on the thermometer has gone up a little bit and the sun's been a little bit brighter, I immediately turned to the real Don Steele and 93 KHJ Boss Radio. I've been listening to a bunch of stuff from the 60s from that time, and like while I've been working, I've just pulled up like the old air checks of like Don Steele's show from like May 25th, 1968 or July 4th of 69 or whatever, and I've been like grooving to a lot of that stuff. It's a lot of soul music from the time, obviously a lot of like the classic rock stuff too, like the Doors, the Stones, but my song of the week is going to be Sunday Sermon by Booker T and the MGs, which is perfect for that time period. And it's just as I said, I haven't been listening to a ton of music lately, but when I have, it's been music like that just kind of feels good. Tap your foot along too and roll the windows down a little bit. So that's going to be my song of the week. Kind of
good. I was going to have to
vein.
flivto the YouTube Don Steele 3 hours and put it on my Spotify so I could add it to the playlist the entire
exactly.
3
Don't
hours.
worry, I picked one that I could easily identify that I know is on on Spotify. Yeah, so it's good. It's pretty easy.
That's awesome. I am so, when you sent that to me, I was like, I clicked on it and I was like, bang, bang, bang. I was like, we're back. I was like, I cannot wait to play
Boss
this.
Radio, man.
The pit bosses. Oh, wow.
Fucking perfect.
So, Chris, congratulations, 4 years. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Maybe we were a little long in the tooth about it this time around, but hey, that's what you get sometimes with the Grunge Bible podcast. And you know what? We'll try and do better next time.
You're damn right. It's time for our 167 and 1/2 hour break.
Heck yes. So thank you everybody again for listening. Go back and listen to some of your favorite episodes. And if you can, let us know what your favorite episode is. And either, I think YouTube comments are always, they get picked up, but sometimes the messages get lost. So
yeah,
leave a
YouTube
comment
comments,
on there.
iTunes, Apple Podcast review, Spotify. You can leave comments on podcasts now too.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I can't believe it took them this long, but
right.
I've been starting to I didn't even realize that you could do that until I checked the creator portal for Spotify, and I've been noticing some of them coming in. So,
Chris,
that's a good place.
I think I brought this up on the page. It's the last thing. You can like a song on Spotify, but you can't cross it out to come up,
Oh yeah.
You can on playlists. You can on playlists, but I always think for social media, I wish I could thumbs down stuff. You can only thumbs up. On YouTube, you can down. On YouTube, you can.
Yeah, I think you used to be able to do that on Spotify, or maybe you still can, but just with the stuff that Spotify creates for you. Because I vividly remember doing that on Discover Weekly and had a plus and a minus, and it would just give me shitty stuff, and I'd hit the minus all the time. But I don't know if you can do that anymore or not. I'll have to look.
I don't know. Anyway, thank you everybody. We will see you next time.
Thanks
on the
everyone.
Grunge Bible Podcast for episode 209.
Rock and roll, everybody. Stay heavy for the next 4 years.
Yep, Hansa guys.